Well, this is my LG washing machine, purchased for my wife, and you can see by our owner's manual. I made note I got it from Home Depot, 1/17/2009, and we purchased it thinking this would be a wonderful water-saving machine and very effective washing machine. Well, it was both of those things. However, the door wouldn't close properly. So when we tried to close the door, it would latch, but actually this end where the hinge is at was not resting and moving inwards like it's supposed to. As you can see, when the door opens, this whole hinge mechanism moves in and out. It stopped doing that. I didn't know why. So I suspected that the mechanism inside had got crudded up somehow, corroded. And it didn't dawn on me to find out how to take the darn thing apart. So instead, I went after the place where the hinges are in fact attached inside here through these two holes that I drilled, and was able to actually free up the hinge, which was frozen so it wouldn't slide in and out, by just adding lubricant and cleaner in there. And then I started wondering why that was happening. Well, here's what's going on. This is the door which pulls the drawer out for the soap and the softener and the bleach dispenser. Well, when we looked at this door, I noticed this whole area was getting rusty. And we had seen this earlier, didn't know why. And I found out that this particular lip between this soap dispensing trough and the front of the machine's plate here, a big crack in it. There was a like a foam strip that was supposed to be in there, and it wasn't sealing very good, and it was not completely covering the space. So water, and soap especially, was dripping down from this area right onto the hinge, and eventually corroded the hinges so bad and started to rust the bottom area here that the hinges wouldn't move anymore. So what I should have done was take the machine apart properly and discovered that problem, lubricated the hinge and fixed it up, repainted the bottom so the water damage that was happening down there was arrested, and prevent water from getting through this crack. Well, I eventually did that, and I eventually did take the machine apart, but I kind of did it backwards, as you can see. So I had to actually caulk this seam, and I tilted the machine by putting the bottom leg here on approximately a 1/2 inch support on both sides. The machine works okay like that, but it helped ensure that everything was flowing downwards. The other thing we did was we took the soap dispenser out of there. We know about how much soap we have to put in there, and that allowed the soap itself to, when you put it in, to quickly settle towards the back. Move that way, and when water was added, it would dilute it, and anything that might splash outwards would have less soap in it. Well, it turns out that probably wasn't necessary. This will probably work fine if I put it back now, since the angle is taking care of a lot of the splash. We don't get any water anymore on this particular area. I had also drilled a hole in here to serve as a way to simply lubricate this area and see what was going on if it happened in the future. None of these holes affect its operation, but it Surely doesn't make it look like a beautiful machine anymore, but the machine was already 5 years old, past its warranty, and it was either do this or buy another one. I could have done it by taking it apart originally and accomplished the same thing. But anyhow, I was able to get that hinge to work. So if any of you have trouble with a hinge and it's not freely moving like this, that'll exasperate the ability of the door to seal, and you'll get some dripping down here, which is one of the other symptoms that we received. You need to take the machine apart, lubricate those hinges, and figure out why they're not working properly. And maybe you also have a water leak here like I did. Alright. So if you do want to take the machine apart, it's relatively simple. There's a couple screws in the back that takes off a bracket. The top area pushes back and then lifts up. And to take this plate off right over here, there's a couple screws here, and there's a screw over here, if I remember right, and a screw right there. And this plate kind of pries off and pops off. So that was one problem that we had with the machine. Then another problem came up. The darn machine would not go into the run cycle. We'd push the button to start it up, set it where we wanted to set it, and this button would not operate properly. Turns out these switches, which are just plastic levers that work some tiny button switches inside, I can show you what they look like, were not popping out. They were sitting in a push down position and getting stuck that way. And if one switch is kept in a stuck down position, then the machine will not allow you to go into taking it out of the pause and into the play position, or not allow you to use any of the other switches. So I thought to start out with that we needed new switches. I bought the new switches. They're relatively inexpensive. I was going to solder them on, and I did more troubleshooting, and I could see the switches are working fine. If you take this plate off, push those switches, everything works great. But the plastic lever mechanism is wore out or not effective, so sometimes they stick in the on position when they shouldn't be. So I just put some screws in them, and you can pull them out. So you can press this in and pull it out, which you couldn't do before. Press it in, you can pull it out. Press it in, pull it out. Press it in, pull it out. Okay, and this one also was acting that way, so I put a screw in there so you can press it in, pull it out. I don't want to do it now. Start the machine up. This one over here is not working at all. This is delay wash. We never use that. So this one may in fact need a new switch replacement, despite the fact that I put the screw in there to make it work so you could press it in and pull it out. It still doesn't operate. How'd I do that? I used a 16th inch drill and a tiny sheet metal screw. Just screwed it in there, and that works fine. Here's what the switches look like. I have some in a panel board here. There are these little switches like this, and then I bought some that are separate from a panel board, micro switches. Okay. So now the machine works fine, and instead of buying a new machine, I'm going to keep this one for a little longer.